So this is where I'm at for the moment. And we're going to make a camp. There's a camp. Have a seat beside me here. Let's look at the ducks. There we go. Have a seat beside you here. Grab some water. I'm going to tell you a little story. It's 2026 now. And since 2023, I have been car-free. I have not driven one time. In fact, I let my own vehicle sit for 3 years before I made this decision, and recently sold it because I realized I have no need of a car. I'm truly car-free. And how this started for me wasn't about finances. It wasn't about saving the environment or any of these great causes. No, I started with a broken leg. That got me biking. That's what actually started me biking, was a broken leg. Did it for rehab. It was the only thing I was permitted to do before I was relieved to go on for pressure. You know, you can't have pressure on a broken bone for a very long time. And riding a stationary bike with no resistance was the only thing I was authorized to do during that time. And I started doing that on my porch. I rode about 200 miles staring at my front door until I thought, hey, I know, I'll just get a bike. Like, I'll just get a real bike, and then I can at least do this riding around town rather than staring at my door. And I did. Got a cheap Craigslist bike for $50, and away I went. First ride was about 7 miles. I remember I was gassed. I was gassed. I didn't even know it was 7 miles. I was just out riding, and then I'd ride until I started to get tired. I'd turn around and come home. And then, this was before I knew about Strava, then I would retrace my steps on Google Maps, and then it would give me, how many miles I did. When I saw that I did 7 miles, wow, that was a turning point for me, because 7 miles, most of your car trips are about 10 miles. It's just used to run around your city. It's not very far. And so when I realized, wow, I did 7 miles, and of course I was gassed, I was wore out. That was the limit of my conditioning at the time. Again, I was coming off a broken leg, so I was at my weakest point possible. But 7 miles I could do. But it became something completely different. But it started at that 7 mile range when I realized that I was capable of running into town, running to the grocery store, going someplace and coming back without a car. It opened up a whole nother world to me. And I didn't know it at the time, but it started all the way back then. Now, of course, it progressed like any addiction. Used to do a little, but a little wouldn't do it, so a little got more and more. And that's exactly what happened with cycling. I went from that 7 miles to, let's go for 10. And next thing you know, it's 20 and 30. And next thing you know, I'm out on the bike for 5 hours at a ride, doing it 3, 4 times, 5 times a week. At one point, doing 150 to 175 miles a week before I had to take a break. I had to stay off the bike because I just lost so much weight. I couldn't sustain my own body weight. Couldn't put enough food in your mouth to sustain those kind of miles. And so I had to take a break, and that's where I got into shelter building and bushcrafting, and camping outside, learning to live and survive outside, not needing another machine in order to do all the basic daily things. But that's a whole other video. But when I got to that point of about 10 miles and I realized that I was capable of doing errands in town, coming back home on a bike, it was a freedom that you hadn't known since you were a child, since you were a kid on a bike. You know, it opened up a different world to where I realized, well, I don't need a car to go to the grocery store. I can do that on the bike. In fact, I enjoy the ride on the bike. I don't enjoy the drive in the car. Many of you guys don't know, but I was a truck driver for 5 years, over the road, all 48 plus Canada, mostly running Iowa to California week after week after week, solo, 4,200 miles a week. I have driven more miles in those 5 years than many of you will drive your entire lives. But the bike gave me a freedom from that vehicle, from having to drive in town that was just, I can't even, the freedom it gave me was the sense of accomplishment. When you can go somewhere under your own power and not need a machine to do it, it provides a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment that you just don't get no matter how many miles you drive. And I started to notice that then. Now, after 3 years of being car free, I mean, not even needing a vehicle even once to do anything I've done the last 3 years, wherever I go, I go on a bike. Wherever I'm planning to go, I plan to go on a bike because I never want to need a car again. And this was not even the financial reasons. I mean, sure, as soon as I realized that I no longer needed the machine and I'd have to pay for the privilege of having it do the work for me, there was another freedom that came along with it. The hours of my time and of my day. My labor was not being spent to gain dollar bills, to pay for a machine, to do basic things for me. You know how the game goes. You play Monopoly. We're all playing Monopoly. Good looking dog. Good looking dog scaring off the geese. Pretty dog though. See him? When you start doing the math and you do the financial part of it, it makes a lot of sense as well. It frees you up from having to serve the machine so much just for basic needs like travel. I also know there's a push to get people out of their cars. They don't want people to be able to drive. You won't be able to afford it. A lot of people can't afford it now. And I see more and more people starting to ride bikes for the financial reasons. And I'm on board with all of those reasons as well. I just want to tell you there's a whole lot more to it than that. Every 6 months, I become a new animal. I become capable of different things. My conditioning improves. I'm capable of going farther, carrying more weight, going faster, whatever. Any metric you measure, I've got them all on Strava. And there's no improvement to the bike. The bike is the same. The only thing that's changing is me. And that is a freedom and a sense of accomplishment. Again, when you go somewhere under your own power, it provides a reward that you just don't get when the machine is doing it for you. You know, there was a wise professor once said that sublimation was what was destroying society. We had sublimated our base desires that actually provide fulfillment and satisfaction and long-term happiness. Those things are provided by you providing for your own needs. When you sublimate those needs to a machine by pressing a button to do it for you, you may be able to do more, you may be able to do it faster, but the more you do and the faster you do it all, the less it all means, and not any of it provides you any sense of satisfaction or fulfillment. So the more you have and the more you buy and the more you go and the faster you go and the less fulfilled you become. And it's an endless cycle that you can't really get out of until you stop needing that machine to do the work for you. Because it's the work that's providing the progress. It's the work that makes me a different animal every 6 months. And you don't have to be extreme about this. You could get a bike and ride it 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day around your neighborhood, and it would change your life. Better than any drug you've ever tried, and it's free. There's not a whole lot of things here that I've found that are good for you, fun to do, and they're free. If you know of any other things, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them, because so far, biking is about all I've found here. It hits all of those marks, and it has changed my life. And now, to where I'm ready to go tour the United States, I don't even consider doing it in a vehicle. I don't even understand why I would need that. And I've logged over 14,000 miles on Strava so far. Where can't I ride a bike? Earth is only 24,000 miles around, and that's if you could pedal over the water. So what would I ever need a car for? And that's the freedom that I would like others to experience. This whole car-free push, you're going to see more and more videos of people talking about being car-free. And good. This is the one thing on the agenda that I actually support, but not for the reason they're pushing. There's a whole other side to it. I want all of you to become better animals, more capable, less dependent on any machine to do anything for you. And I want you to see the benefits, the progress, the real work that it does in your body. It also change your mind, change your mentality, change your mindset, change your mood, change your state. It does all of these things every time you ride, even if it's for 15 minutes. Again, this doesn't have to be extreme, but it will change your life. It'll also make you need the machine, the pharmacy, the medical machine. You'll need it a lot less later on. Pay attention to these elderly folks who are out here on bikes. Some of them been riding longer than you've been alive, son. And that's why you can't hang with them, because they do have more miles in their legs than you have to this point. It changes your life. And it's definitely done that for me. And that's why I plan to be car-free for the rest of my life. Now, well, what happens when you get too old to ride a bike? And, well, what happens when you get too old to drive? See, I don't think that you stop riding because you get too old. I think you get too old because you stop riding. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Sitting here beside me in the park. It is too hot to be out. I'm going to go and make another cup of coffee. See you next time. Now, if you are going to drive a car, this is the kind of car you need to drive. That's the second kind of cool. Sorry, guys. That's nice.